let me get out of
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So Corey got this beautiful intro ready. And so I'm excited to read it for all of you about Coach Larry Blunt. So Coach Larry Blunt is currently the assistant coach at Oklahoma State University and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our Swishmas series. Coach Blunt started his coaching career at Eastern Mennonite, a Division III program in his hometown of Virginia, before joining the staff at Division II school, Shaw University in North Carolina. He spent 2 seasons there before heading to Hampton-Sydney College and then moving up north here to coach the Oshawa Power of the National Basketball League of Canada. In his first season with the Power, he led the team to a franchise record for wins in a season. After his time with the Power, he was the bench boss at Orangeville Prep for 3 seasons where he worked with former players such as Jamal Murray, Thon Maker, Kyle Alexander, and current OSU Cowboy Matthew Alexander Moncrief. Coach Blunt left Orangeville to take an assistant coach position at Canisius, where he helped guide the team to their first regular season title since the 93-94 season. So it's been a minute. After that, he took his talents to Drake University, spending 3 seasons with the Bulldogs and winning the 2019 Missouri Valley Championship and earning a trip to the round of 32 at the NCAA tournament. So now, if either of you have questions during the presentation and anyone else who joins us, you can always save it for the end, or please feel free to use the chat. And tonight, Coach Blunt will be talking about transition offense. So Coach, it's all yours.
Mr. Saleh, thank you so much. That is so kind of you. I wish you were here. I wish my wife was here because might have been.
It's okay. We have it recorded, so you can just play it all the time now.
She's Canadian, and occasionally, especially during the season, we need our wives and significant others, for that matter, to have some positive thoughts. So I sincerely appreciate those kind words, and I hope everyone's doing well. And I appreciate everyone taking a few minutes to jump on. So excited to be here, and thank you again for that warm, kind introduction. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to try my best to be as brief and as short as I can be. I know people have a lot going on. We're in season. Obviously, the Raptors are playing, and there's NBA, there's college football, there's NFL. Like, this is the best time of the year, just with so many great athletic events that are going on right now. So I promise I'm going to do my best to be as brief as possible, but I'll put together just a brief presentation. So let's see if we can share our screen. And if there are any questions, please feel free to jump in and just chat. I like it when it's much more interactive than me just speaking or talking to you. So I'm going to see if I can figure this out. I'm pretty technologically challenged, but let's see if we can figure it out. Can everyone see the screen okay?
Yep, all good.
Okay, awesome. Well, this presentation, as Mr. Saleh mentioned, it's based on transition, and it's also some early offense concepts. I'm new here to Oklahoma State, but as we mentioned, and one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is our just pace. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. This is KenPom, which is an analytic tool. We can derive a lot of information or take a lot of information from this. But I think one of the keys to any type of transition offense is you have to be really good defensively. And currently, this is as of yesterday, Monday, December 6th. We are the 11th best Division I defensive team in the country. So a lot of this transition to be able to get out and run and to be able to create space and to create tempo, a lot of that is really contingent on you being able to get stops, because the transition, obviously, you can be good at it. But as you can see, last year, this was with our last year's team, and Cade Cunningham was obviously drafted number 1. He's playing with the Detroit Pistons. We have a really good group of returners. Obviously, he's not here, but we were 4th in the country in pace and tempo. So you can see a lot of the things that we're going to go through. This is kind of how we've organized it. And again, you can just see we're the 4th best team in the country. So you can kind of get a feel for how fast we played. All right, again, good defense. And then being able to rebound the ball, making a miss is what we want. And a major concept of this is having wings that can get out and run. I don't know if can you see my cursor on the screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. So
Yep.
having wings, Isaac Likeliel, Avery Anderson, Bernie, we have guys, Bernard Kuma, that are running to those spots. We got a wing out in front. Like, this is one of the staples of being a good transition team, is you have to have two guys that are willing to run to or sprint, not just run, but sprint to the corners. And you have to have a rim runner, which is this young man here. And then you have to have two guards that are willing to push the tempo and pitch it ahead. So you can see getting downhill, creating early offense. Now, I tell people when you watch us and as we go through this, just kind of, if you can, just kind of take note of the shot clock. All right. I know in Canada, FIBA, especially in high school and, the leagues there, you guys play with the shot clock. I think it's 24 seconds for my time up there. The key to this is, if you can see it, like we play with a 30-second shot clock, not 24, but 30. It's 26 seconds that have expired and we've already scored a layup. All right. Let me get this sound out of here. Again, same thing, like we got to stop. We got the corner still, which is a major piece of what we like to do. And now creating indecision. All right. It's 26 seconds again, or 25 on the shot clock. It looks like this team, we're playing Liberty. They don't have the opportunity to get matched up. So Matthew Alexander here now, because everyone's scrambling, they can't get matched up. 23 on the shot clock, we score. That's a slow possession for us. So we want to really get out and run and put some pressure on the defense. Just again, guards, another big concept is slicing the floor. All right, getting guys to put pressure is really hard for someone that's backpedaling to be able to put themselves in a position where they can slow the ball down in transition. We got a corner field over here, as you can see, one where you can't see in the corner, but there's a corner guy. We got a guy that's running to this corner. We have another trail and we have guards out. So like now that guard that you couldn't see, you have to make a decision. Am I going to step in and am I going to take away this drive? Or am I going to come off the corner and give up a step in three-pointer, which is a really high percentage? We miss it, but because of the pace and the indecision, we have their point guard on Matthew Alexander Moncrief. Obviously, he was a Canadian. And right now we have a guard that's trying to battle a four-man for us. And we like our chances if we can get a point guard on a 3-4, good athlete. We like our chances to get an easy one. All right. Again, we got another stop. And this is kind of going to be the theme. It's very simple. That corner field, like it puts a lot of pressure on a defense if we're willing to pitch the basketball ahead and really sprint. All right, and again, this was a made bucket. So the same concept, we run on makes and misses. That you can kind of see we got a pitch ahead, and these are things that we can drill in our breakdowns and we can work on. Pitch it ahead, and he's doing what we call punching the basketball, driving it, punching it. We got a head of steam. It's not our fault if a defense doesn't want to sprint back and try to get set up. All right, I think it's 25 on the shot clock, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Any questions just about how we build it, what we're looking for, and what we're trying to accomplish early in the shot clock before the defense can get set up?
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
All good.
Basics. We like to be really simple so our guys, everyone's on the same page. All right, so here we go. Now we're getting a little bit more into transition. All right, again, this is our basics of what we like to do. You can see we have corners field and we have a trail big that should be coming in the frame in the picture. So a lot of time we like to get, if we can't get the early hit ahead, so the rim runners, we like to get step ups. All right, so we got our four-man that sprinted to the corner. We don't necessarily play positions where the guards have to run to the corners. In this case, we have, I think Matthews at the 4, and he's setting a step-up screen. And what we want to do is before they get set up, we don't want to call 1-2-7-3-5, all those play calls. We want to, and stop it and let everyone get set. We want to flow into this. So right now we got a step up, and now we're getting a ball screen trailing right into it. So now we're putting pressure on the defense. Right now, this is awesome. And we really work on our pick and rolls. They have a really good shell. All right. They've done a really good job. 24 seconds on the shot clock. And now we get into our second pick and roll, step up. And now he's trailing with the ball screen. So now we're putting pressure on this low man right here. All right. He's got to make a decision. Right now, because of our pace, we have this defense in the pickle. Is he going to stop the ball? Now we have this low man. He's in a bad spot. He's got to decide whether he wants to take the lob away or if he wants to take the corner, and good luck. Perfect. All right. Does that make sense as I'm breaking it down?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
So again, we've got this guy here. He's in a tough spot. All right. Right now, we got indecision because of our pace. They got 2 on the basketball is what we want. He has to make a decision. Does he get and guard his man, or does he get back and take the pick and roll away in a dunk? Very similar. 25 on the shot clock. All right. We're getting back into our spread pick and roll look. All right. They got 2 on the basketball right now. Now, simple pick and roll rules, and we'll drill this. We'll do it 1 on 2 on 0. 3 on 0, 4 on 0, and 5 on 0. But right now, we're picking on this tagger. All right, I'm going to rewind it so we can see it. We got a pick and roll happening. And now Kate's coming off it. We got Matthew who actually set it. And now if this guy is on the inside of the roll guy, all right, it's a very, very simple rule. If he's even or if he's on the inside to even, now we want to throw the throwback. If he's on the outside of him, which you'll see in a few of these later clips, then we want to throw the lob. All right, but he's on the inside tagging, and now we put them in a tough spot because we have a closeout for a great shooter. He can shoot it or he can drive it. 19 seconds left on the shot clock. So what we want to do is, because of our pace, we don't want to slow down and let everybody kind of load up and get set up. You're having to deal with our pace. And then right after dealing with our pace, you're having to deal with us and spread pick and roll. All right. 26 on the shot clock. Very similar. All right. Again, putting pressure on this guy. He's got to make a decision. Is he going to step in and take the basketball, or is he going to come off the corner? This time he doesn't come off the corner. Kate comes downhill, and now he's in a tough spot. Do I stop the ball? Do I take it? And right now we get a layup downhill because of our spacing and because of putting pressure on just this defense. 25 seconds, we're right into the flow. Now, this is another concept that we do just right out of our transition. We set a lot of these quick screens or split screens. All right, a lot of people have different terminology, but now 24 seconds, we're running out of this. We would have had our big and a guard here. He gets to make a decision. Will he curl it? Will he pop? If he can back cut, he can pop. He can curl over the top. He can pop. It creates a lot of indecision. So right now, these guys, because of the pace, are having to make a decision. All right, what do we do here? Do we switch it? Do we get out? Like, what's going to happen? This is against Kansas. They both go with them, which is perfect. All right, because of the indecision, he liked the matchup having a guard on him. All right, and now anytime that we get a double team or a trap post, very, very simple rule. We get a diver. All right, they go trap, no problem, perfect. We get Matthew Alexander, who's a Canadian, Brampton, Ontario. And actually, Matthew actually went to Orangeville Prep. So we put him in a tough position. They go trap, we dive, we dunk. We like that. Pretty simple basketball. All right, same concept. We got these same guys. The trail guy was here. We have the wing running, so we got our corners filled. Same exact transition. It's 24 seconds on the shot clock. Same thing. This time, Cade cuts back door. Again, Matthew pops. And now we have great action. We have a big guard on a little guard where we can get a post up, or he can hand it off. And now we right into our pick and roll. All right. Simple rules and keys that we have out of this. If this guard on this handoff goes underneath, one of the ways that you can attack guys that like to go under is you can flip the pick and roll. So he went under. Great. No problem. Now we flip it. Now you can't get back on under that one. All right. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So now in this situation, because he flipped it, and we want him to screen the bottom half of his man so that he has to go over it. That's important. Now we're in the same scenario. All right. We got a pick and roll. And my point earlier that I was going to make, in the earlier clip, this guy that was tagging really got on the inside of this roller. All right. And on this one, now he's late. So we really have both. He's in no man's land, but because he's on the outside, now we can get our roll and we got an easy dunk. All right. So what we're reading as we're coming off this pick and roll, and you can drill it. You can put a coach here. You can get 3-on-1. You can do a lot of ways to drill it. He's coming off this pick and roll, and this tagger is on the outside of the roller. So because he's on the outside, he's going to be open. Does that make sense? Just a simple key. If he's on the inside of him, then we like to throw it back. If he's on the outside, we should be able to get either a lob or pocket pass. Same thing, just so we can see it. We got a big guard cutting back out, perfect. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we had a little guard on him, which is perfect. Great opportunity for us to be able to take advantage of a smaller guard on a bigger guard. Our system is really positionless. We'll have guards setting the pick and rolls. We'll have bigs coming off them. We try to create mismatches and we try to make it really simple so everyone understands. We got a really good shooter lifting. We have a smaller guard on the big guard. We have a big that's out on the perimeter, and now we'll get a layup. All right, just really simple transition concepts, but we try our best to put pressure on people by playing with this kind of pace. 22 seconds on the shot clock. Now, very, very similar. You get the same thing. This time he curls off it. All right, and now a lot of times these are really hard to switch. All right, he has a live dribble, and now they're going to try to kind of fight over the top of it. I'm sorry, they're not actually switching it, but now this big, he has a 5-man on him who may not be as athletic, and now we're taking advantage of that. They pitched it to him, he came over the top, and now we have a straight line drive, and we have a less athletic big against one of our guys that is a little bit more athletic with Matthew. And now he has a chance to go to work and go one-on-one with him. Now we got rebounding, we got a floor balance, we're in good shape. All right. Any questions on any of that? That was just basically our secondary where we flow into if we don't get anything early out of it.
Coach, just a question.
Okay.
In terms of just transition, what do you feel are just some pitfalls? You know, you're trying to push the pace, you're trying to execute early. What do you feel sometimes stunts the transition? Is it like trying to, like you said, pull the ball out and try to call a set and not let it flow? Like, what do you feel sometimes stunts the transition that you want to execute?
One of the biggest things that really stunts transition, or that really slows you down, is if you are not really putting an emphasis on making sure that you run every time. Everyone has a job to do in the clips, and we tell our guys, and we really, really do our best to reward them or give positive reinforcement, like really overboard when we get a guy that runs to the corner and he sprints, and because he runs to the corner, the big that was plugging or that was standing under the rim has to go out to take him, and the big gets a layup. We really, really, really praise the guys that ran to the corner, because essentially they got the layup. And conversely, if the guys sprint to the corners, which gets the big a layup, because now the guard, the guy that's just the low man standing under the net, because they're fanning out so that they don't give up threes, then we really praise those wings that ran because they got the big, the layup. That makes sense. So I think the biggest thing that you have to have, and you have to have a commitment to, is really holding players accountable for sprinting to their spots, no matter where it is. Mm-hmm. And then I think if you can get them to run first, then the next piece of it is now you can really create tempo and pace with guards that are going, but it doesn't work if everyone does not do their job.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely. Any other questions just about that? All right, I just want to go through 2 or 3, and again, I don't want to take much of your time, but that's kind of the premise. But I also want to just show a couple of plays of once we get into the half court and kind of how we transition into it. All right, so just a couple plays and some pick and roll, just basics here, okay? All right, so this is a play. A lot of people run an Iverson action. All right, we're right over the top. All right, and now we're kind of creating some indecision here. So we got a pick and roll on this side. All right, and we can play out of that, especially early in the game. We may play, it would be essentially a naked pick and roll. And we'll get this 5-man, in this case, out. So we'll have guard, and then we'll get a naked pick and roll. So everyone understands what a naked pick and roll is. So as we transition to that, then we'll go, and this is just a counter to it, we'll go right to a step up. All right, so we'll throw it, and now we have our spacing. And again, we'll flow into this, so it's not just letting you get your defense set. And now we have an opportunity for players to play basketball and do what they do best. All right, so spread, pick and roll. Now, these are the things that you really can drill 3-on-0, 4-on-0, and 5-on-0, and you can really put coaches in if you're creative to kind of simulate it. But right now, any good pick and roll defense should have a guy that's a player, he or she should be standing under the net, this low person. So this low guard in this case should be standing right under the net. Most people put their other defender, the top player, at the nail. And that's every basketball floor that I've ever seen has a nail right at the free throw line. And it's the middle spot, which most people line their shooting foot. So if you're right-handed, your right foot will be on that nail. And if you're left-handed, your left foot will be on the nail. So you have a nail and a low person. So in this case, their pick and roll defense isn't great because they're extended. Does that make sense? We got an elbow. We're at the elbow instead of the nail. There's a nail right there on every floor. And now because of that, we're in great shape. All right. You can't do both. You can't take this roll away and you can't take the 3 away. You got to pick which one you want to give up. So we roll. That tagger again was on the outside. You can see 5 is not in here tagging. He's on the outside. So now we're in a position where we give up a lob. All right. That's the nuances of reading a pick and roll and understanding what you're trying to accomplish. Low man's pulled, not where he's supposed to be. And now we do that. Same play. And just so we could just see pick and roll, very same play. So now we gave up the dunk. Now they're where they traditionally should be. We got a nail that's somewhat covered. And we have a low man that's here that should be kind of going there because they don't want to give up a dunk. All right. On our team, when we give up a dunk, normally we tell our guys in the next huddle how much we love them when we give up a dunk. So we don't want to give up those. And I'll just say that, like, our guys, if we give up a dunk, there's a lot of pleasantries that are exchanged in the next time out. But now, because this low man here doesn't want to give up the dunk, now the read is, the progression is, now you can throw it to the corner. And then if we get a closeout, now our next guard should be funneling in. And that's just simple basketball, but we try our best to teach so that everyone knows what they're looking at. Not just, okay, this is a pick and roll, you come off it, you dribble. Like, it's trying to help our guys understand what they're looking for and what we're trying to get. All right, another Iverson action. And these are just basic concepts. All right, right now we got a screener action. So we caught it. Anytime a offensive player sets a screen, you normally allow yourself to get open. All right, so the better you screen, the more open you're going to be. Steph Curry is elite at it. He's one of the best ever in our game. All right, so we get a good screen on 35. So we got the big roll into the block. And now we got a screener action. All right, again, just so we're slowing it down. This guard is screening the big. All right, first read is to get it inside. And this happens fast. It's 20 seconds on the shot clock now. And now we get a pin down. Good shooter running off a screen. Perfect. All right, very similar. Same rip. And these are just different things that you can do out of an Iverson action early in the offense. And I just want to go through how we get to them and how we set it up. All right, same thing. We have a Iverson screen right to a step up. All right, and now we're rolling, replacing. All right, so right now we have the defense in a tough spot. We got a big that's dropping. We have a guard that's created an advantage. We got 2 on the basketball somewhat. And then this other weak side offensive player who's a good shooter is putting this defense in a bind, because this player is supposed to tag Matthew. And then if he tags, if he doesn't tag, we're dunking. All right, if he goes out and chases the shooter, now they're in a tough spot because he's swinging on the rim. All right, no one wants to give up dunks. Again, we don't like pleasantries that are created from dunks. So now he's in a tough spot. Do I come out and tag him, or do I come out with the shooter? And he decides to tag to not give up the dunk. And it puts us in a position that we got a great shooter with a closeout. Just simple concepts. All right, just very similar. All right, now we got a double drag. And these are things that we give our players the freedom to be able to do. We got a double drag, pass it, double drag, perfect. Slipping out of it, and we get the same look. Pick and roll, putting pressure on this tagger. Do I tag or do I come out? Decides to tag again, but goes out. And this is a great job by Isaac Likeliel in this pick and roll. He manipulates it with his eyes. All right. A lot of people give up on it, but he keeps his dribble alive. All right. And now because now we got a really good shooter. Cade obviously was the #1 overall draft, the #1 pick in the last year's draft. He's in a tough spot. So he's coming out trying to go get Cade so he doesn't get open up 3. And now he gives him a dunk. All right, just a couple more plays, just if you want a couple quick hitters. This one is a really good one, I think. We got to step up, pick and roll. All right, and we're putting pressure on the defense. So if you need a late game play, if you want to try to get you a easy one, right now, this is against Kansas. We have them in a pickle. All right, so we got our pick and roll, and we're running a shooter out to the corner. So what we're doing by this shooter coming out of the corner is now we're putting their taggers in a tough spot. We have a good shooter that's lifted, so he can't tag. This person that would be the low guy is running out because he's a shooter. We're not going to give up that one, and we're not going to give up this one. And because of that, if this guy here steps to take the lob away, then we have a dunker spot drop off for a dunk. If he takes that away, the dunker spot, then we have a lob. So these are things that we do just with pace that creates indecision. He has to make a decision. Does he take the lob away? Which if he does that, then we can dump it off to Isaac. If he takes away Caleb Boone, then we can drop it off to Isaac. Does that make sense? Can you see the indecision, we put you in tough spots. You got to make tough decisions, and it happens really fast. All right. Those are the plays that I wanted to show, just kind of a quick edit. I hope that makes sense to you, and I want to take my screen off and maybe answer questions if you have any. But again, I just wanted to take a few minutes to maybe show some things that we do and how we create tempo and pace, and how we transition from that tempo and pace to some really simple plays that give our guys a chance to do what they do best.
Yeah, no questions. Not because it made a lot of sense. I actually coach a much younger group, so this is just more interesting for me than anything else. But just taking some of the concepts and breaking it down for 12-year-olds who obviously can't dunk, but some of them feel like they can.
Well, dunk, you still get the same 2 points whether you dunk it or lay it in.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
And we appreciate all your contributions to our game. When I was in Toronto, I was fortunate to work with a lot of the younger kids, especially 12 and 13 and up. And a lot of those kids, especially now, are getting a chance to play in universities and colleges across the world, really. And I'm grateful for that experience. I mean, a lot of those young people, a lot of the things that they learn, a lot of the foundations that they get for the game come from people like yourself that really work at it. And I know from my experience, oftentimes it's a thankless endeavor. So I would like to just say thank you, because I know how much time, energy, and effort that goes into it. And parents don't always understand or appreciate all of the effort that you put into it, especially if their kid doesn't dunk and score 30 points every game.
Well, thanks, Larry. I appreciate it. It is a lot of fun. It's rewarding. Obviously, my kids play, and obviously that's a big part of it. But for me, one of the things that's incredibly humbling, having played when I was younger, is just how much more advanced they are at the same age. And just the level of athleticism with some of these 12-year-olds. You're right. They may not dunk, but some of the things they can do are things I've never been able to do. So it's a lot of fun.
I certainly agree. And I think as the athleticism increases, I guess I should say, at some point for almost everyone, the athleticism gap shrinks. And at some point, you're not going to be faster. You're not going to jump higher. And I think people like yourself, Coach John, that spend time educating and teaching, especially teaching the fundamentals, like you can really start seeing that as they kind of start matriculating and working their way up in levels, whether it's high school, whether it's college, university. even for some of them that are fortunate to play professionally, a lot of your effort really shows up at that point. So it's admirable the time that you make, and obviously it's 8:30 there, the commitment to jump on one of these Zooms, man. It really shows a lot about you, and I think it goes unnoticed. It's something that needs to be recognized. So I just want to make sure I say thank you.
Well, thank you for doing it. At the end of the day, it's your time, and your accolades are they speak for themselves, speak for itself. Sorry. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, I really appreciate that. And, I know Corey is a really good friend of mine. When I was actually coaching the Oshawa Power, she was really, first and foremost, a great friend. And she really helped me through just that experience. And I say this, and I mean it, Corey is one that I can specifically say it, but it's not just, with her. I can say I would not be where I am without a lot of people in Canada that helped me. They took me in when, I was really searching. I was a young coach, and a lot of those relationships are why I'm here now. And a lot of people just up north of the border, they really have done a lot, and they've really helped me. They've taught me, and I've learned a lot. And, I just can't thank you all enough. I wouldn't be where I am without you. So thank you.
Awesome.
Coach, I had a question about personnel. You mentioned in your transition videos also, the 3-point shot and having the threat of the three. If your personnel is not maybe the greatest in terms of 3-point shooting, how does your transition concepts change? Or does it change in terms of how you push the ball, or even having your wings run out to the corners and even have that threat of the three?
That's a great question. We're in a position where we're fortunate. We get 13 scholarships in a traditional year. That's changed a little bit just because of the COVID, where, we have a few extra this year. Moving forward, it will be back to 13. But we recruit guys normally, and it works the best when you have guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. Because as I mentioned, now you can play positionless, and now you're not really running the spots, and you can really create confusion. And when I say that, 5 men are saying I'm guard number 22, so I'm sprinting back to the paint. But when 22 is on the corner, now it's harder because they ran to the paint, 22's in the corner. But you can really be creative with guys that are, non-shooters, and players that, don't necessarily shoot it as well. You can really be creative, and you can manipulate it by doing things like, and I'll just use a specific example. Some people may run guys to the corners, and they may put the non-shooters in a dunker spot. And that's one way to manipulate pick and roll, because now if you have a big set in the pick and roll, the guard that's the non-shooter, he may be deep in a dunker spot. And now you have the person guarding that non-shooter has to account for them. And those are ways that you can kind of be creative. I mean, you can do different things where make that person the screener, where they're going to set the first drag or the double drag. You can do things like maybe even have them run a pick and roll and set that person that's the non-shooter, put them at the elbow, and let them set a pin down simultaneously while the ball screen is occurring. Now that person that's coming off that down screen has to account for that non-shooter. So you can be creative. It works the best when you have 5 people that can dribble, pass, and shoot. Great question, Coach.
Thank you.
Any other basketball questions, transition, life, just about our team, anything? I want to try to be a resource in any way possible.
I guess I don't want to hijack in terms of questions, Coach, but just the conditioning level of your players to be able to consistently be able to push the ball and, get to that level. How early is that work being done? And is it something that can be implemented in season, mid-season, or is it something that a lot of the work has to be done pre-season to get to the level and the style of play?
Coach, that's a great question. First and foremost, I think any basketball player, if you really take your craft seriously, you have to be in elite shape. I think because of the pace that the game is played both ways, guys that play the game, or young ladies, or, if you are going to be a basketball player, you should never get out of shape. And I think that is the root of being a good player. There's so much emphasis being placed on strength and conditioning. Our strength coach is out of this world. I mean, he does his best to make sure our players can perform at their most optimal level. If you're not in shape, and I'm sorry for digressing a bit, but I think that's you hit the nail on the head. Is an incredibly important part. If you're not in good enough shape, then when the season starts, you can't maintain your weight because you're trying to catch up and you're burning all those calories because it's harder to do it if you're not already in shape. But to be able to play this way, you have to be committed to running. You have to do it every time. And if you're not in shape here, then the reality is we have 12 other really good players in a traditional year. And if you're not in shape, then we can go down the roster and find someone that's in shape. The second part, and that's a great point, and I'm glad you mentioned it, it allows us to play players. And if you are really, and coach has a rule here, if you take yourself out with the fist and say, I need a break or blow, then you can let coach know that you're ready to go back in. But what we want to do, and we really believe this, our 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th player is better than your 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th player. So if we can get everyone to sprint and continuously do it and keep putting pressure on you, when we go to our bench, we get better. When most people go to their bench, and if they don't go to their bench, that's even better because we're going to run you down and grind you down. But if you do go to your bench, we're excited and everyone's engaged and they're more excited about playing because they know that their number is going to get called and you're going to be out there. And when you're out there, you're going to run as hard as you can to put pressure on defenses.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great question, Coach. Any other questions? Recruiting, Christmas shopping? This is too easy.
I know. I was going to say it went by really quick, which is also kudos to you, though, because it means it was as informative as it was also really entertaining. So thank you, Coach.
I sincerely appreciate you all. I can talk ball all night until my wife yells. She hasn't yelled yet, so I must be doing okay. Or the puppy starts barking, one of the two. Normally, I don't know which one comes first, but normally we get one of those two. Any other questions? Anything you guys? I mean, we have, I think, 15 more minutes if we desire to use them. Any other topics? Like, we love hoops. We love to talk, anything that's offense, defense, anything. Anyone have anything else they want to maybe talk about? I think there's a question in the chat. Favorite inbound on inline for youth? Great question. I think that, again, goes to your team. Again, I think it all depends on, I think, good baseline out of bounds, we call them blobs, get your best player to a position where they can make a shot. So I think if you have a big player, then maybe you run a line and you set a back screen for that big player. I think if you have a really good shooter, then maybe you run stagger screens to be able to get that shooter in some action. I think if you are playing against a team that switches them and you know that, then you can do things like maybe run screens that are set higher so you give yourself room to slip. At our level, sometimes you come across teams that play zone. So I think being able to have a way to attack that and whatever defense that they deploy to try to shut down your baseline, I think you should have something to attack it. And I think that varies. So I'm sorry for not a straight answer on that, but I think it depends on your team. Next question, Coach. It looks like favorite conditioning drill for youth. I think that's a great question. From my experience, I think anything that involves coordination, so whether it's skipping rope, I think plyometrics are awesome, where you may be putting 5 dots, 2 in the front, 1 in the middle, and then 2 in the back, and anything, whether it's 1 foot jumping, whether it's, you can go 2 feet on each hold, you can do anything that involves a plyometric. I don't think those in any way stunt the growth of kids. I think those are great because it works on their coordination, but at the same time, it allows them to be in a position where they're, still getting in shape. I also think Conditioning drills that are great are anything that involves the ball. So for example, our transition offense, you can simulate even a drill that's as simple as having everyone sprint to those spots and then having 4 coaches or 4 players pass them the basketball and those shots in their spots and getting 4 or 5 shots that would come out of your offense. I think even having a basketball and having he or she dribble full court with your right hand and make a layup, dribble with your left hand and make a layup. I think anything that involves a basketball and the coordination required to do that is awesome. I like defense personally. I think anything that involves defensive sliding, just the technique and the fundamentals, I think any of those things are awesome. I think the more that you can do that is basketball specific, I'm not a huge fan of putting 30 seconds on the clock and touching free throw line and going back, half court back, etc. I think there's a place for that. And I like to say, if you're not going to run hard in those drills, then the one thing I can control as a coach is putting that 30 seconds on, because then I can dictate how hard that he or she goes. But if everyone's playing hard in a perfect world, which we like, then I like to be in a position where we use the game and we simulate what we're going to do to create the condition. I think shooting drills where you have people running off stagger screens and shoot, I think a lot of that stuff is good too. That's what you'll do in a game.
So Coach, you mentioned at the start of the session that kind of you attribute a lot of the success to the ability to force turnovers on defense. Are there a couple of, again, simple things that you can suggest that you attribute your success to?
Yes, we're really solid defensively. And I think great defenses, especially the higher the level you go. And I would even say even, the younger, and when I say higher, I mean older kids. And you have way more time to practice with them. I mean, we're with our guys so much. We have so much information and we can get them clips of practice. I mean, at this level, if you step with the wrong foot to go to the water cooler and get water, we know, and we all are aware. So I think with us, we've really tried to make sure, one, that everyone's on the same page, and I'll kind of make this make sense hopefully in a second. But we really want it to be simplistic so that when we show a clip, and if any of our players are to say, okay, in this pick and roll, what happened? We like to think that what makes us good defensively is that they almost all can tell you almost in unison, on this pick and roll, the guy wasn't at a nail. And we may ask the question as we're watching film, what happened? He wasn't at a nail. It's almost scary how, because we break it down and we make it so simple and we really try to teach, our goal is to have everyone in our program, managers, coaches, even some of our sports information directors who are not watching every day of film, sometimes they'll yell out, what happened? He didn't catch the roller as a phrase. Or, we may say, what happened? He didn't tag. Like, everyone knows our verbiage and they also understand what's supposed to happen. So we think our numbers are so good because we're all on the same page and everyone understands what was supposed to happen. And we can do things as well to kind of manipulate tempo. So we may trap a ball screen, and that may get 2 on the basketball, which in any good defense, you never want 2 on the ball. That may lead to a quick layup, but that allows us to get it out and get our pace going so that we can get the game going up and down. Sometimes we may say on the first pass to the wing, we may run and trap it. Now, again, hopefully we can get a turnover and we can get it going, but sometimes they may make a layup and that's okay. Let's get it out and go. So I think those are everyone, man. That was a long way of saying, I'm sorry for my long-windedness, but it's, making sure everyone's connected and on the same page, and we can show them a lot of film to reinforce it, but 2, finding ways to manipulate to create tempo, even if that means us maybe giving up a layup or a quick shot.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Coach, I think you kind of answered my question through that as well, where where were you seeing success, or were there certain defenses that were triggering, more transition opportunities as well. I think, like you said, there's opportunities where even you might give up that layup to push that pace as well to get that tempo going. Or because my question was going to be like, was it more, certain zones, or, were you switching screens constantly, or like you said, even trapping ball screen or whatever it might be. So
really, and we do a lot. We try to make it, because we're so athletic, we want our players to be players. So we don't want them trying to figure out, okay, today we're switching. So now you can't play, and it's not possible to play as hard as you can if you're trying to figure out where you're going. And to the point earlier, I think that slows people down, is having to try to think and not play and react. And then the second piece of that is putting yourself in a position where, you are not, and I want to make sure I can explain this properly. It's thinking over, obviously the overthinking piece. But the second piece that slows people down is guys, sometimes you come here and they want to run a play that gets to this, that they reverse the basketball 3 or 4 times. And what we want to do is we want to take them out of that. So instead of allowing them to run and slow us down by reversing the ball 3 or 4 times and getting on 2 or 3 different sides, we may just say, you know what, on this one, we're gonna deny that and not let them get it to the side and make them have to beat us one-on-one and try to get that game going, get our tempo that we want. I think we have a question, great question, Coach, or great point that you made, I'm sorry. Favorite rebounding drill for U13? I think I really believe in just the fundamentals of it. I think throwing it off the backboard and teaching the players first and foremost how to go get it and grab it and chin it and pivot, I think that's a great part of starting it. I think the second part, and probably more important, I would say, is teaching the fundamentals of blocking out. And I think it's really even as simple as getting on the baseline, having someone yell shot, because that's a really important part, is communicating shot. And most players don't want to talk because everyone uses their cell phone, so they're not equipped or accustomed to have to use their voice. But I think that's important, is making them do that. But the second piece is maybe putting them on the wall or near the wall and having them learn to hit, check, turn, and then chase. So I think those are just the fundamentals. I think maybe in another drill, just a simple drill, is we may put a basketball in the block chart or restricted area on a traditional court or a federation court. And then we may have one player standing at the block, one person 2 steps away from the block. And the drill, the coach blows the whistle, and the person that's on the inside on the block has to turn, and they're trying to prevent the person from touching the basketball. So you're trying to get it, and I'm just trying to slide. The coach will blow the whistle and say, go. And that person, once they hear go, has to go hit the person that's outside, put a forearm on them, get turned. And now they're trying to get to the ball, the person that's on the outside, and you're trying to kick, keep them out, kick, keep them out. And if that person touches the ball, and again, it's teaching the skill, but it's making it harder than it would be in the game. But the objective is not let them touch it. And then we may have a fun penalty and try to get a winner to make it fun. Because if it's not fun, I'm just telling you now, I'm not doing it. It's a game that I love, and things like that are really simple, but I think it really reinforces the point. We have another question. What is one thing that you consistently see kids getting to your level missing? Or if you could teach all youth a certain thing that seems to be missing in the youth game, what would that be? Oh, that's a great question. And I want to speak from my experience, because there's things I wish I would have done differently. Now having an opportunity to be here, and I would even say from all the different levels, I think the fundamentals are missing. And I think players are now in a space where there's so many highlights available that they see Steph Curry shoot the 32-footer, but they don't see him setting the back screen first, and then 2 people going with, for example, Draymond, and now he's popping and shooting a wide open one. Or they don't see the 4 or 5 that he catches and shoots first to get a rrhythm, or they don't see him driving and being able to finish with both hands. they don't see the kind of conditioning. I think they said, I read somewhere that he runs 3 to 5 miles every game just throughout the course of his speed, his pace, and how he changes speed. So I think it's the basic fundamentals. If someone was to ask me, from my experience being on the other side and being a high school coach, an AAU coach, and a rep coach, I think it's just the basic fundamentals, how to catch a basketball. And if you are right-handed, step with your left foot, your right foot, and shoot a shot and finish your shot with a good follow-through. I think it is the being able to catch the basketball, play on 2 feet, pivot, and make a simple pass. I think a lot of it is just the boring, mundane, the monotony of doing the right thing and learning the fundamentals of the game. And if you look at the guys that are in the NBA, the majority of them, and I would say a large majority, 95, 96%, if you really watch and study the NBA, they have a really strong foundation fundamentally that allows them to be able to expand their games. Now you have a couple guys that jump 43, 44, 45 inches. Some of them may not be as fundamentally sound, but the majority of those guys that stick in the NBA that are not sound, normally they're 6'8", 6'9", or better. And you can survive at that size if you're not as fundamentally sound. But great question, Coach. Any other questions? Anything? Basketball? Border crossings? Fishing? Gotta be some.
All right. I think if everyone's good, for people on screen, thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, good. Awesome. This will be my reaction, Coach, to everything from today. We love
Thank
Zoom
you.
reactions. So thank you so much. I'll leave it to you to maybe just end off with anything you want to end off with, and then we'll say thanks to everyone who stopped by.
Well, again, I really appreciate everyone taking some time to jump on. I appreciate all you do for young people and for our game. I want to leave with this. My email is Coach Blunt. It's just regular Coach, COACH. Blunt is my last name, BLUNT, and it's at gmail.com. So again, it's Coach Blunt at gmail.com. If I can ever do anything to help anyone, again, I think that's been put in the chat. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I will never tire of saying that I would not be where I am without a lot of kind people up in Canada. A lot of our recruiting and a lot of those things, if there's players that you see that even if this is not the right fit, but there's a young person that may be looking for an opportunity, even if it's not us, I will try my best to help. If there's a specific drill that we may have mentioned that you may want more insight or you have a specific question, that's my email. Please feel free to reach out. We're in season. I'm losing my voice. I may not respond like that day, but I really try as hard as I can to respond to people, especially people up in the Great White North. So please, if I can help, please reach out. Again, thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for the warm introduction, Mr. Sala. And if there's no other questions, man, thank you all so much for your time and again, for all you do.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Really appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
I know.